Now that the Sky Fortress Bahamut is about to take down the city of Rabanastre in its efforts for the war, now it's the perfect time for us to get on with some side quests, as I welcome you back to part 43 of Final Fantasy XII, where today you'll be exactly doing that. We've got enough Espers to access the Hen Mines, so we'll be checking that out predominantly throughout today, but we have got a few things to clean up and collect first, such as the 50,000 gil you just get given for taking down the Hellworm by Mont Blanc here. We've also got a few other bosses and creatures and such as when we took down the extra bosses in the Necrohole to clean up. We've also got the 8 Espers margin to get a reward for, and here we've got the Behemoth King, the Xeon, and the Seer. The Behemoth King sucks. There's no way of sugarcoating it. It's the worst one in the game. It just sucks. I never look forward to the Behemoth King because it's just such a drag to get. XII, I want to say, is a reference to Final Fantasy X because there was a summon in 10 of the same name, but I don't know if it actually is. Like, I want to say it is, but that's an odd call to suddenly summon that one specifically. And the Seer at the bottom is the only one that's completely optional, as I have said before, if you're trying to get the true final one, because it calls it the Seer, but in reality it's the Shadow Seer. The Shadow Seer can only be found in the Pharos Tower, in an optional area we've yet to explore. And as you see, when you go to talk to Mont Blanc about it, he doesn't really give you... He tells you it's at the Pharos, but he doesn't really tell you anything beyond that. It's just like, well, good luck finding it. And that's all you get. I will be showing where the Shadow Seer is and taking it on. You can't fight the thing without taking on the other optional boss that's in the optional area, the Phoenix, which I've alluded to before. But we'll get that along the way anyway, trust me. I'll show it all off as we go. But as you see, if you go to interact with it, it just tells you the hunt's here. Like, I don't know if that's a glitch or it's acting weird, but it doesn't tell you that the hunt is at the Pharos. It just tells you it's around, go look for it. We still also have the Pyrolaster as well, but before we do that, now we've done the Pharos Tower, the secret shop back in the Necrohole will now sell you Isunaga, removing harmful status effects from a party-wide, and it will sell the almighty High Ether. It's 1,110 gil per bottle, so it is kind of beefy. The price is going to catch up quickly, especially in a game where money's not that easy to come by anyway. Like, the only reason I've got so much is because of the enemies we've taken down. It's sold to make that much, but as soon as we've done the main campaign, getting money to maintain is not easy. But if you can, buy a full set of 99 high ethers, but don't use any of them yet. You're keeping them for a couple super bosses and just harder challenges later on. If you speak to this Geomancer, now you have more than 10 Espers, he will tell you that he will open the path here from the boss room of the Hen Mines to a new area. This is the second half of the Hen Mines and is technically the most dangerous area in the game. Yes, the basic enemies are the same level as the third area of the Lusu Mines, but the variety of them and how deadly they can be and how constant they can be makes this area far more dangerous. The main reason being is that it is hiding the 13th and final Esper of the game down here. The secret Esper of the game, the one that's supposed to be far more brutal than any other, which I don't actually go for last. Like, I show off that Zodiac is down here, but I don't. But when I actually go to hunting down the last 2 Espers, the only 2 we're missing, I go for Zodiac first, because Ultima is the journey that sucks. The journey is what I dread every time. But similarly to the third section of the Lusu Mines, there is some really great loot down here if you just keep looking around. An example being the dueling mask here that we've just picked up, that you're going to see me check for. 13! Light armor 13. That is amazing. I think that's the highest level of light armor. I think that is the best light armor in the game. Also, yeah, you're going to see me very quickly go, oh, hang on a minute, there's traps down here. And Ash is just running in like a maniac. We need to not allow that to happen. There we go. Now get float on us so we don't have to worry about the traps. That over there, you see that big enemy that's off to the distance? That's your first instance of this environment proving to you that it is extremely dangerous and easily the most dangerous environment in the game. So you're going to see me go to approach it, say, yeah, sure, what's the worst that can happen? And then just watch. Barsh is dead. I was like, huh, okay. So, I mean, we managed, it died like soon after, it wasn't too bad, but I was just a bit like, oh, okay. If you head over here though, you can pick up the candle of the hen mine so you can get the rest of the area on the map, so you can see what you're actually working with. As you can see, it kind of, not a lot of it isn't connected, there's a lot of invisible paths, but you're linking round to the special charter dig over there. The special charter dig is where Zodiac is waiting. But as I said, if you're wise, you would not tackle Zodiac right now. Zodiac is dark elemental, meaning it's going to hurt regardless of what you do, and is only weak to holy. It is an endurance match of a fight to take the thing down, I assure you. But we will take it on at some point, just not yet. Zodiac actually becomes a post-game challenge for me. I decided to leave it until after I finished the main adventure, because we're so close now that it was this awkward spot where it's like I wanted to get, I always want to get as much done as I can before moving on with the plot, but at the same time I didn't want to do so much that the final boss became a joke kind of thing, because I always feel like that hurts the fun of it. Like, I already feel like there's a lot of moments in this game that, because I've been doing everything as I go, haven't been anywhere near as tough or as fun as they could be, because I've just kind of steamrolled them. Especially because it's the Zodiac Age version of the game that is naturally easier to compensate for job differences compared to the original, where it just let you use everything, so made the game tougher to compensate. So, following off that trend before my mind went blank for a second, I eventually do draw a line. You'll see, like, I do a few extra side things, and we've got a couple parts yet. Like, it's not, don't worry, it's not another block of 6. It's only a few videos of us side questing and cleaning up some of the extras we can do. But then I eventually draw a line in the sand, say anything beyond this, the level of strength we would need to take it down would make the final boss a joke. So I decide to leave it and not bother. But speaking of the content we've got left, just as a fair warning, there probably won't be any uploads tomorrow, because, you know, the Final Fantasy VII remake comes out tomorrow and I want to play it. Like, my intention is to not really do anything else other than play FF7 when it comes out tomorrow. And can you blame me? I've never really been subtle with how much of a Final Fantasy fan I am as a series wide, and just like many other kids at the time, Final Fantasy VII. Oh, I do pick up the circlet. I thought I didn't. Oh, that's cool. I was sitting there like, oh, I'm pretty sure I never actually found the circlet, the best, like, one piece of the best armor set in the game. But no, that's right there, so that's nice. Sweet. But anyway, I've always been a huge Final Fantasy fan, and just like many others, I adore Final Fantasy VII, and it is the pinnacle Final Fantasy experience in my eyes. Although my personal favourite is Final Fantasy IV, that doesn't mean I can acknowledge what one's the best, and that is 7 or 9, depending on what you're looking for in a Final Fantasy game. To me, it depends on the mood, but right now it's leaning in 7 because I am super excited for the remake. I'm following its entire development, like, ever since, like, I know development didn't start until only a few years ago, but remember that, I don't know how many of you will, because this was years ago, but that tech demo in 2005 or early 2006 for the PlayStation 3, where they showed off what a HD Midgar could look like, ever since then the dream has been alive for this remake, and now in the year 2020 that dream is less than a day away. It's finally about to happen. I am so happy I'm not working tomorrow. I've got work today, this evening, and then after that I am free to just play it. It's something that I've genuinely been really happy with. This console generation, it had a little bit of a shaky start, because outside of Bloodborne there really wasn't anything that appealed to me at the start of this generation. Like, Order was god awful. The Last of Us, that was already on PS3, and it was too story focused without any real gameplay, so I've only ever played for it once, and after that I never touched it again because it just wasn't interesting enough. Uncharted 4 was good, but it was also the one that I firmly believe is the weakest Uncharted, because once again the gameplay heavily let it down. Pushing realism doesn't suddenly mean fun. If anything, it means the opposite. I love the original Uncharted trilogy, but Uncharted 4, good story is only one thing, but the gameplay was hideous. If they had what's her name? Amy Hennig, the director of the original Uncharted trilogy. If they had her do the gameplay with Neil Druckmann doing the story, I can imagine Uncharted 4 would then actually deserve the acclaim as best game in the series that it keeps getting. But it didn't, so it's not, regardless of what people try and tell me. But after that, until like Persona 5, there was really nothing on that console generation that was like a super must-buy appeal to me. It was just I just kind of strolled along with it. I just kind of got it for the sake of stepping up and just kind of went along as I went with it. But then after Persona 5, and after that approaching some of the later years of this console generation, we felt like we've had banger after banger. We genuinely have had some really amazing games. And you think like, yeah, it wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but Final Fantasy 15 was amazing in my opinion. Especially because of how much it grew on me after all of its extra content was added to it, and it was expanded with the DLC and such. Evil Within 2, I know I go on about it all the time, and I should probably let's play it at some point for how much I go on about it, but I love Evil Within 2. The reason why my main reason I was hesitant is because I haven't done the DLC for Evil Within 1, so there's some plot threads that might not make sense if you've never played them. And I know I could just explain them, but I'd rather record it. But at the same time, I don't like going back to Evil Within 1 because Evil Within 2 is so much better. Like, it's idiotic how much of a difference in quality the two is that it's genuinely difficult to return to the original. The only thing of the original I keep is that you can change the control scheme to be more reminiscent of the original Evil Within, and I've always had it like that because the button layout, at least to me, makes more sense for the style of game it is. But maybe I'm just a weirdo, but it's always felt that way with me. As we get wrecked by these Hectides here. Hectides are another enemies that really suck because they do insane damage, but they can also cause confusion and poison and just all this other nastiness to make it so you can't do anything to stop their abuse. But then after Evil Within 2, Persona and all that stuff, like, Kingdom Hearts 3 was finally going to come out, and everyone was like, what? And then it did, and it was great. It had problems. But I've said before, it's not my favourite Kingdom Hearts, but it was a great fun game. And all the updates it's got since then have also helped really build it to its own. Devil May Cry Goddamn 5 finally came out after over a decade of waiting. And that was a dream come true, and hands down the best game I've played on PS4 next to Bloodborne. Like, well, and Persona 5. I love Persona 5 as well. For someone who's not planning on getting Persona 5 Royal, I loved Persona 5. But then even saying that, Persona 5 Royal, now's the perfect opportunity to get into it if you've never played it before. Because it's a director's cut version of the game. What more do you want? Just get in and give it a try. Yes, the hot nurse isn't voiced by the same actress anymore, and so some of the magic of having a goth doctor are gone. But she's still an amazing character. The entire cast is legendary. My undying love towards Futaba is only there because of how well written not only she was, but the entirety of the cast of Persona 5. It is an amazing game for not only turn-based JRPG fans, but people who only like story games and shit like that. Like, it's the best of every aspect. Just give it a go. But then after DMC5, like, the Neptunia series, like, found new heights in this generation. Because I said I only got into them recently, but we also had Dragonstar Varnir, Death End Request. We had some really, at least to me, amazing games at the tail end of this generation that really made it what it was. Like, who took it out of the, we're going to make it super duper HD and really nice and make everything run like crap, to suddenly Devil May Cry 5 running at a smooth 60 and being the best damn looking game around. To having Death End Request be as captivating with its story as it was. So Dragonstar Varnir, another game that I really need to let's play at some point, to be as emotionally powerful yet really fucking like energetic and fun at the same time as it was. Even Alternative Riser, yeah, I've yet to finish it, but I'm loving that game, and that's another one that's on the bucket list of games to maybe let's play. Yeah, I can imagine that one will be a little longer because it's a very long ass game. and it's very slow as well, so you feel how long it is for the most part. But that game's great, and we've still got more yet to come. Like Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure, although it looks like another first-party Sony, we're gonna make it super graphic-y and super realistic, and then the gameplay is gonna probably take a lot of punishment and not be that fun. I'm sure, only because of the pedigree of the developers, that it'll be perfectly fine and people will enjoy it, and it'll probably do really well. We've also got like the Final Fantasy VII remake just tomorrow. Death and Request 2's this year, which I'm super fucking ecstatically stoked for, because the original, even if it's problems, I enjoyed it so much as I went on in that Let's Play. In fact, it's getting a sequel, and the sequel looks badass. We're supposed to be getting it this year, but we'll see. I'm a teeny tiny bit more hesitant now that we know that of everything that's going on with, I'm trying not to call it what it is, but you know what I mean, with COVID-19, the doom disease. That's probably going to like delay a few things, so it might not end up coming out this year, because you know the translation team is to sit down with the cast and whatnot. Like I can imagine there's a lot they can get done from home, because it's just reading the Japanese text and translating it, but it's also localizing it so it makes sense. So you want more than one person to be looking over it to make sure you're not missing any beats. But then on top of that, it's getting the voice cast organized and sorted out, because yes, some of them absolutely will have their own recording booth or their own personal studio or something of sort to record their voice lines for. It's unrealistic to assume all of them were. Sheena's actress, for instance, Kaylee Mills, like some of the actresses like her are a lot more of like almost the unknown list, so they probably don't get as paid as well, and they probably don't get as many jobs in as some of like the better names. So just assuming that she will be perfectly easy to just be able to hop in her own homemade recording studio and it be like tickety boo is kind of unrealistic. She might have her own studio, I don't know her, but but you got to be considerable like that. So there's a chance that they'll just wait it out, because one thing that Compile Heart is usually pretty good with is outside of just certain circumstances out of their control, like say Noir's actress in Neptunia. You can tell my mind's going a blank a little bit. I'm burning out on this conversation. In Neptunia, for instance, Noir's actress got changed in the end, but that was because of the union. If you remember the union that went on a few years ago, the union, like, it was essentially like a actor and actress super wide strike that went on to demand better treatment and pay. Better treatment, Compile Heart are great at treating their actors and actresses and great at treating their staff as a whole. But payment, they're not a big company, and so it ended up just causing problems. And that's, don't for a second when I say that, misread that as Noir's original actress got greedy. It was her union and her agency that made the decision against her wishes. She absolutely wanted to carry on voicing Noir. And you can tell that because if you check out her Twitter, on her Twitter page, she just says the OG Noir. Because the woman I'm referring to, I can't remember her name, so you have to forgive me. I can remember Kaylee Mills, but but I can't remember the one that's a little bit higher profile. Just my luck. That's me in a nutshell, really. But she's the current voice actress of Chie and has been since everything after the original release of Persona 4. It'll come to me probably as soon as I finish recording. But she was also the original voice of Noir and got replaced off for someone else. The new actress for Noir is perfectly fine, and I've completely adjusted to her. But I also kind of miss the original to an extent as well. The same with Vert's actress. Vert got a new actress over time. I think this is like a third actress now that she's on. And it was just different times and things changing. But it was the agency that decided, not her. Like, she wanted to. And so I can imagine the door is still open for her to come back in at some point. But at the same time, the new actress has kind of settled in so well that whenever the 5th mainline game comes around, I wouldn't be surprised if the current actress is the one still voicing her and they don't backpedal and get the old one in. As much as it would be nice, I'm perfectly fine with either or. Like, I kind of like the softer tones of the newer actress. Like, it gets her personality a little bit easier than the old one that had a lot more of the energy. And to be fair, the best scream I've ever heard in an anime ever. If you watch the English dub for the anime, anytime Noir screams or raises her voice, like, it is amazing how much effort she put into it. Like, a lot of people like to bully the joke of the English voice casts are never as good as the Japanese. But the English voice cast for Neptunia are doing a fantastic job, and I always love listening to them work. And the anime is just pure bliss of listening to them all work like maniacs. Speaking of Neptunia anime, the OVA came out in Japan, and I've still yet to watch it because I want to see if they sub or dub it. But either way, we know it's going to get an English release per se, but it's whether it's just subtitled or dubbed. Either way, I'll get it. I just want an official version of it because I like being able to, support the company. I enjoy their work, and they haven't wronged me yet, so I want to be able to still support them and just help them out. In the same way that Mary Skelter Final, as soon as that comes out, I'll try and get a hold of it, assuming it sticks to the release window on the PS4 as it did in Japan, and not just randomly change it like it did with Mary Skelter 2. I don't think that's probably the only thing that's ever bugged me. I know to an extent it was out of their hands because of just different things with publishers and such, but it being on PS4 in Japan, yet Mary Skelter 2, when it came to the West not being on PS4, was kind of painful. Like, I was just kind of like, you serious? It's on PS4 in Japan, but it's not in the West. You might be able to see that there's a few enemies that are running past that are completely invisible. They have got the invisible spell on. If you linger with them, it will eventually pass, allowing you to continue. Or allowing you to take them on and continue if you so want to. Also, at this point, I start upping the attack because I'm aware that it's starting to get a bit ridiculous. Because these enemies are too tough, and any groupings beyond what we've got is just kind of insane. Something that is worth doing, actually, is going down to Scave, equipping it, going over to foes, and setting it if more than 2 or more than 3, depending on how confident you are, foes are present. Use that over Flare. So you see me put that there. So now, if there isn't an elemental weakness and if there's more than 2 enemies, or like 3 or more, Balthier will use Scave instead and hit a group wide for the highest magic damage. Not that it does that much because they instant killed him. The only thing that is a teeny tiny bit of a mistake in my opinion, like looking back on it, is I set single target the flare because I just wanted to get as much damage done as possible. Set it to shock instead because it's got a shorter cast time and the damage difference is only a little bit. It's better to have, like, for every one use of flare, you could get 1.5 uses of shock kind of thing. So you might as well use shock because it will stack up in the end and you'll be getting more damage later on than what you started with. As we continue pressing on through this maze where most of it isn't even on the map. To be fair, it's a worthy test, but if they wanted to do this, this is how they should have handled the Great Crystal. Make it so there's only parts of paths everywhere you can see on the map, but the rest of it is blocked out. So then you still got that maze-like attribute that you were going for, but it's not bullshit. It's not what we ended up getting. Because what we end up getting with the Great Crystal when we eventually return there to do the hunt for Ultima is just, it's just painful. It's terrible. I don't. The second visit to the Great Crystal is the worst place in the game. Like I said, the Pharaoh's Tower is only worse if you're only doing the main game. You don't have to do the second visit to the Great Crystal because it's only there for Espers and a very hidden away super boss. As you can see here, we're starting to get ganged up on a little bit, so it's starting to get more terrifying. And it's why you can see me like iteming and menuing a lot, because like I said, we shouldn't really be here at this stage. This area is the most dangerous for a reason, and it's proving it quite admirably to that. But as more people die, now we're in a terrible situation because our only active members got stop on them, so they're not doing anything. So I bring out Penelo in some vain hope to get some balance to the party again, accepting Barge's death. What I should have done is swap out Barge for Ash there, just so I can try and get the medics back on ground. But I'm like, well, look, Penelo can stay until people stop targeting her, which is what's going on right now, which is why her name's still in red and I can't swap her out. Like, I'm trying to move away to stop people targeting her. There we go, now we can get Ash back in. Still got disease on her though, poor girl. Need to get that off her immediately. Unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, you can't buy serums anywhere, so until you can get cleanse, which we could have by now. I've missed it and didn't get it. Until we get cleanse though, we gotta be conservative with our serums, because disease is too difficult to deal with if you can't, and if you let it get to you, kind of thing. It becomes too much of a menace. Even the weaker enemies in the game will be able to kill you given time with disease, kind of thing. As you press up here, there's a room over here that's kind of on its own that also has loot, so if you're looking for better equipment and accessories, make sure to stretch over here as well. The entirety of this dungeon, you want to try and cover every single nook and cranny, because there is going to be stuff worth it, like the lordly robes there that we just found, which is our best mystic armor set in the game. I'm sorry, I really confused myself, because the other part I was adamant, and I was really into, I just saw it, that we never got the level 13 armor sets, because I was actually considering going back and recording more footage to hunt them down, to show them, but I've just got them there. Maybe it was the heavy armor I didn't get, and maybe I'm just misremembering, because I remember not getting one of them or something. If you proceed over here, which I very accidentally do, you're walking face to face with Zodiac, and Zodiac will abso-goddamn-lutely end you right here and now. So here he is. Here's the secret 13th Esper that the game doesn't tell you about, because if you look on your stat list, it only lists 12. That is waiting in the deep dark depths over here, super hidden away. Because like, keep in mind, to get here, you need to know to have 10 Espers and know to talk to one random person in Jahaya to enter the Hen Mines. Zodiac will always start the fight casting its ultimate attack once. So essentially, to do like a hard test to see if you're ready for it, which is Darkja, as the name implies, Dark Elemental. Remember the odd times we got Black Hole? Well, have you ever wondered what that would be like if it came back at you? Well, you're about to. Yeah, we didn't stand a chance. It was a fruitless effort. So I decided to deter and go back the other way. You can see I did kind of clear out a few rooms as I went, but there was a few bits and pieces that I'd have to backtrack for a little later on because of it. As we decided to go down here instead. And the only problem is that I hadn't actually checked my recording, so I was kind of in the back of my mind trying to go, what did I show off? What did I didn't show off? We can get Renew down here, so if you ever wanted to, you know, deal with all those optional fights that I've told you about many a times can be dealt with a reverse Renew and a cure, you've now got the final piece. But as you can see, Penelo's the only one that can use it because of her being a white mage. What's the plan here? What am I going for? Yeah, we can't equip it. I was like, what am I doing? You can see that there's a few points where I'll stop at a rock or something and kind of spin the camera to try and see where we haven't gone, where we need to go. Whilst I'm looking for topics to talk about, because this place is only so interesting, I have seen the new the PlayStation 5 controller, the DualSense controller. I honestly don't think it's that bad. I think like it's gonna be an adjustment, because to me, like when I hold the PS4 controller in my hand, it feels so natural and easy to me that the bigger, chunkier controller that doesn't have some of the sides and edges to almost catch your hand so it doesn't slip, being missing might be a bit awkward. But at the same time, like, I used to play with a really chunky Xbox 360 controller back in the day. Like, it's not alien for me to use it. I can imagine I'll be fine. The only thing that might be a little annoying is trying to do decent skills with on DMC5, because the control scheme requires you to kind of claw a little bit to get the best out of it, and if the bigger the controller gets, the more awkward it's going to be. And I'm glad, I want more details, but I'm glad they're not getting rid of Share, even if they've just changed its name to Create. I can imagine it'll be near enough the same thing, just with a few extra bells and whistles. Like, it'll probably be like when you press the button, you can start editing it the moment you press the button or something. Which, if that's the case, I probably won't mess with it too much. Just give me a SHAREfactory or Create Factory, because that's probably what they're going to change its name to just old school edit it, do voiceover for, and crack on. And I'm fine. We can continue business as usual next gen. Because as I've said before, that was my biggest concern. If there was no like real SHAREfactory or sharing ability in the next gen PS5, I was going to be in trouble because I've always used the built-in recording system for it. Because I don't earn enough money to justify getting a proper capture card, and I have no proper experience. I'm entirely self-taught with editing, and SHAREfactory does a lot of the worst for you. Like, processing is done for you, you just got to get it together. The videos you just got to record yourself. If you want to transition between clips, there's a menu that's easy enough to add. Like, it gives you a lot of the pieces to make it kind of easy. Like traditional editing, where you have to do all the steps yourself, I have no proper experience in. This has just been my gateway to, which might give me at least a little bit more of a chance if I ever do decide to go in it, that I know some basics and I know what the end results should look like, that I can start just experimenting and see where I end up, because maybe one day I will. I'd love to at some point learn how to use a proper capture card, get a decent PC set up, because I don't. My laptop died a while ago and I never got around to replacing it. And just getting a lot of pieces together and set up to try and do it properly so that I can cover games on other platforms, because there is a treasure trove of games on other platforms I'd love to cover one day. If I could get something set up for my Vita, hell's gonna break loose, because there's a lot of games on my Vita I'd cover. Like, I'll keep in mind, the PSP version of Final Fantasy 1 through to 4 you can get on Vita. I'd want to cover all 4 of them at one point, because the PSP versions are just the best versions of each game. Yeah, it's got the PS1 version of 5 and 6, which aren't as good as the SNES versions in terms of performance, but they're still good enough. I'd still want to cover them at some point. It'd just be a lot of editing to cut out all the minor load screens, because that's the biggest thing that holds them back. Both Final Fantasy 5 and 6 on the PS1 versions have load screens between encounters, which didn't exist in the SNES version. Every time you get into an encounter and you hear the you're waiting for a second and then the fight starts. Every time you finish an encounter and you get the you're waiting for a second, then you're back in the overworld. It has to load every single encounter, and you'd be amazed about how much time it eats up across a 20 to 30 hour adventure, when every encounter you get takes an extra second. I felt it more in Final Fantasy 6 and 5, because 5 fighting constantly isn't as important. It's more about your strategy than anything else, so you don't fight as much. But anyway, I did eventually clear out everywhere there was to clear out. One thing that has kind of raised my eyebrow, though, that I will want to go back and check, is that I don't know if I returned to get the Lordly Robes, because I died in that room, so I would have lost it. It didn't look like I returned to that room. I'm just going to hope I returned to it off screen and got it, because if I don't have the Lordly Robes on Ash and the Glimmering Robes on Balthier, that means a lot of what happened afterwards I made harder for myself without realising. And that's gonna suck if that was the case. Like, I kind of want past me to quickly check my equipment and inventory just to reassure myself. If it's not in this video, I swear to God, I'm firing up Final Fantasy 12 as soon as this video uploads and going and getting it. I swear to God. Come on, past me, please just quickly check your equipment or something. I don't care what the reason was, just go check your equipment. I'm not gonna, am I? I'm gonna have to quickly load it up and check. Oh. Well, if you're following along, definitely don't do that. Definitely make sure to have the Lordly Robes. I have no idea if I actually went back and got it. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping I did. Please, past me, say I did. Oh. Also, the very last thing before we end this part, if you want to pick up this hunt, you have to talk to this, not this dude at the Man's Watch. You have to talk to the guy we were talking before, but he won't really acknowledge you first. You have to talk to him again, and then you can ask him about the hunt. But before he'll let you do the hunt, he'll make you do a race with him. The race is simple. You alternate between X and circle. If you press one button more than the other, you'll tilt, which is what you're seeing here. So if you press X too much, you'll tilt left. If you press circle too much, you'll tilt right. So if you just alternate between them at a decent rate, you'll win the race perfectly fine. It's only tier 1, you need to win it this once. There are extra tiers that get slightly harder and harder with slightly better rewards, but it's barely worth it. You're only really doing it to humour Rickon here. So nice, first place, here's your prize. Great, now can we talk about the hunt? Oh, you saw my build, let's cut to the chase. I want to, if I'm simple enough, but who's the strongest? One Temple of Legend. I'm alright. Who knows promise? When you find it, you'll know. Will you give it a try? Sure, I'll fight your monster. The creature is called the Pyrolaster. Yeah, we'll find it. Anyway, next time on Final Fantasy XII, and after I've checked to see if I got the Lordly Robes, we will do a couple hunts and clean up whilst we're at it. Until then, though, take care now.